Do you like fried chicken? Well, according to nationwide statistics, most Americans do. Americans eat a staggering average of over 21 million chickens a day. But what if I told you there's one man who turned fried chicken into one of the most successful food chain franchises in the world? And imagine you are standing in a cramped kitchen, wearing a worn-out apron and staring at a skillet of sizzling chicken. Your hopes are teetering on a secret recipe that keeps getting rejected by one restaurant after another. You are in your 60s, broke and practically forgotten. Most people would have given up years ago, but not you. You are about to launch a billion-dollar empire that will take over the world faster than anyone could possibly imagine. Ready to see how you pulled off one of history's most surprising transformations from a broke roadside cook to the face behind a global franchise? Stick around, because this roller coaster tale might just be the most dramatic proof that success can strike at any age, no matter how many times you fail. Welcome. Today you will step into the life of Colonel Harland Sanders, the white-haired bolo tie-wearing founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, who became an icon of American culture and an unlikely rags to riches legend. This story matters because it proves that when grit and resilience collide with a pinch of luck, you can create success even when everyone says it is impossible. In this video, you are Colonel Sanders. You will relive every pivotal moment, from the tragic loss of your father at a young age to the day you finally served that legendary fried chicken recipe to millions of people worldwide. By the end, you will know how you overcame staggering odds, countless rejections, financial hardships, and forced career restarts to become a household name. And here's the wild part. Your most significant breakthroughs happened after most people retire. As you stand barefoot on the rough wooden floor, stirring a pot of vegetables, you can almost feel the weight of responsibility pressing down. While other kids run outside to play, you learn the basics of cooking out of necessity. You realize that a good meal can bring a moment of comfort. Even when life is hard, that small glimmer of hope keeps you going. But you also see how fragile survival can be when one breadwinner is gone. By the time you are a teenager, you have taken jobs as a farmhand, a streetcar conductor, and even a railroad laborer. Each of these roles pays next to nothing, and you often find yourself living paycheck to paycheck, wondering if you will ever find a calling that does more than just barely put food on the table. Still, your early experiences become a hidden advantage. You discover the joy of feeding others and the power of working from dawn until dusk without complaint. It might be tempting to think that your cooking skills are your ticket out of poverty, but life is about to throw some brutal tests your way, pushing you to the brink more times than you can imagine. You hit your 20s and your life becomes a whirlwind of odd jobs. One day, you are a soldier who lies about your age to join the United States Army. Another day, you are a wagoner helping transport goods across rural roads. You later try your hand at selling life insurance, but you are fired for insubordination. If there is a paycheck involved, you have probably tried it. By now, you might be feeling a little lost, wondering if there is any sense of purpose to this hodgepodge of employment. Each job starts with a spark of optimism, only to fizzle out as you either get laid off, fed up, or fired. Yet these failures give you grit. You develop a skin so thick, rejection starts to feel normal. Rather than dwelling on each defeat, you keep searching for the next opportunity. Imagine being asked, "What do you do for a living?" You would have a list a mile long, but deep down, you crave stability, a sense of identity. You want to build something that is yours. You just do not know what that is yet. Could it be that cooking, the skill you learned as a child, is your hidden ace? Let us keep going, because a small gas station in Corbin, Kentucky is about to change your destiny forever. You find yourself in the 1930s, running a service station in Corbin, Kentucky. As cars pull up to fill their tanks, you notice something important. All these weary travelers look hungry. So, you start cooking up simple meals in the tiny living quarters attached to the station. Fried chicken, country ham, mashed potatoes, and biscuits. Good old-fashioned comfort food. Word spreads fast, and people begin showing up not just for gas, but for your homemade meals. You sense an opportunity. Soon, you open a small roadside cafe across the street, and it becomes your pride and joy. This is where your famous fried chicken recipe starts to take shape. You experiment with seasonings and cooking methods, determined to create the best chicken anyone has ever tasted. The place gets so popular that the governor of Kentucky makes you an honorary Kentucky colonel in recognition of your contributions to state cuisine. For the first time in your life, you feel stable, even successful. But do not pop that champagne just yet. The 1950s are around the corner, and a new highway plan threatens to wipe out the traffic flow that keeps your cafe in business. What will you do when everything you have built is at risk of vanishing? We are about to find out. You're in your 60s now. The year is 1956, and construction is underway on the new interstate that diverts traffic away from your cafe. Your once bustling business suddenly slows to a crawl, and eventually, you are forced to shut the doors. You sell the property at a loss, leaving you with just enough money to survive, but not enough to feel secure. It might be time to retire, right? You have lived a tough life. You have endured poverty, been fired from more jobs than you can remember, and just lost your entire livelihood, but something deep within you refuses to quit. You pack up your car with a few basic supplies and hit the road. Your mission is simple in theory, but daunting in reality. Visit restaurants across the country cook your signature fried chicken for the owners and persuade them to pay you a royalty for every piece of chicken they sell using your recipe. If you cannot bring diners to your cafe anymore, you will bring your cafe to diners wherever they may be. Does that sound like a long shot? Absolutely. But you are not done fighting yet. In fact, this next chapter is where your stubborn determination and world-class recipe finally collide to spark a global revolution. Here you are, an aging entrepreneur sleeping in your car, traveling from town to town. You have no big investors, no marketing team, and certainly no fancy commercials. What you have is a recipe of 11 secret herbs and spices, a pressure cooker, and an unwavering conviction that your fried chicken stands out in any kitchen. Each day, you walk into a new diner or restaurant, pitch your idea, and whip up a batch of chicken if they seem curious. Most say no thanks. Some even laugh you out the door. You gather rumor that you face over 1,000 rejections, but you never stop believing that the next yes might be just around the corner. Eventually, you get your first taker, then your second, then a handful more. You strike deals on a handshake, trusting that owners will send you a few pennies for each piece of chicken sold. It is not a glamorous system, but it is a start. Word of your chicken spreads, and more restaurants express interest in serving your Kentucky Fried Chicken. That small-scale success, built one handshake at a time, forms the early seeds of a franchise that will soon explode into the mainstream. Success is inching closer, yet you still have a long road ahead. You are about to discover the power of branding, marketing, and yes, wearing a crisp white suit to match your persona as the Colonel. The turning point arrives in the 1960s. A savvy businessman, John Y. Brown Jr., sees the potential in your growing list of restaurant tie-ins. He partners with you to formalize your franchising model. Rather than hopping from diner to diner alone, you now have business partners who can handle contracts, negotiations, and expansions. Almost overnight, Kentucky Fried Chicken becomes a national phenomenon. By 1964, you sell the franchising rights for $2 million, which is a considerable sum at that time. But you keep the role of brand ambassador. Even after selling, you remain the face of KFC, traveling to new franchise openings, greeting customers, and making sure the chicken is still up to your standards. Imagine your life now. You go from living in your car and wearing threadbare clothes to wearing a white suit, black string tie, and sporting a neatly trimmed goatee. Your face appears on billboards, in commercials, and across restaurants worldwide. People refer to you as the Colonel, and your brand is synonymous with tasty fried chicken that families enjoy together. It is a dream come true, but there is a lesson here too. No matter how successful you become, you keep that relentless work ethic, even into your 70s and 80s. You keep traveling to ensure the product remains top-notch. So, you might be thinking, is that the pinnacle of your journey? Possibly. But let us not skip the part where you evolve into a cultural icon, crossing borders and weaving your brand into the global fabric. By the 1970s, KFC is not just in America. It is expanding into Canada, the United Kingdom, Mexico, and eventually Asia and beyond. The image of a kindly old man in a white suit becomes instantly recognizable, representing warm hospitality and finger-licking comfort food. You maintain a personal standard for quality, famously scolding franchise owners if they deviate from your carefully crafted recipe. Even if it is just an extra dash of pepper or a different brand of flour, you want consistency. This attention to detail cements your reputation for authenticity. Meanwhile, you continue to sign autographs, pose for photos, and shake hands with fans. You are in your 80s, and yet you remain an unstoppable force, traveling over 200,000 miles a year. You build an image that extends beyond chicken. You become a living testament to perseverance. People see in you a living legend who proved it is never too late to start over. Eventually, you pass away at the age of 90. By then, KFC has over 6,000 franchised outlets in nearly 50 countries. The brand that once lived only in your Corbin kitchen is now a juggernaut feeding millions of people every day. Your journey from broke and hungry to legendary entrepreneur ends with a personal fortune, a global empire, and a lasting imprint on fast food culture. Let us take a moment to reflect on what you have achieved. Then we will tie it all together and see how this story can inspire you, the viewer, to chase down your own dreams, no matter where or when you start. Looking back, you realize your greatest strength was not just a secret recipe. It was your refusal to surrender when the road got bumpy. You were born into poverty, lost your father young, worked every odd job imaginable, faced countless rejections, and still pressed forward, all because you believed in your fried chicken, but more importantly, you believed in yourself. Now, what does that mean for you watching this video right now? It means age is just a number. It means rejection is a pit stop, not the final destination. It means your biggest advantage could be the very struggle you are going through at this moment. Colonel Sanders did not reach his peak until he was past retirement age, proving success has no deadline. If you are standing at a crossroads in your life, wondering if your dream is out of reach, let this story be your wake-up call. Take that recipe you have, whether it is a real recipe, a business idea, or a creative project, and run with it. Knock on doors, face the rejections, and keep going until you find your first yes. Then, multiply that yes until you have built something extraordinary. Let us know in the comments what dream you are chasing right now. Have you faced a setback that nearly made you quit? Share your story, because this community is all about supporting each other and turning failures into stepping stones.